90s Wrestling Podcast, and today I've got possibly one of my biggest guests, and what a way to celebrate my 50th interview, because this man is one of the biggest stars of professional wrestling. He is the three-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, the one and only Diamond Dallas Page, DDP. How are you doing today, sir?
Actually, great. Just got done working out and ice in my shoulder because I just got back from Colombia, Medellin, Colombia. And they put stem cells in both shoulders, both knees, my neck, my back. So this shoulder it's feeling much better since the stem cells, but I still got to ice it after I work out too hard.
Well, I mean, that DDP yoga I've just mentioned off camera is something I really want to look into getting to myself, because I had a bad injury a couple of years ago. I actually fractured my T12 in my spine, and because of that, I've had to carry less weights and things like that. But obviously with your program, I saw the one video of the guy who was on crutches, he could barely walk, and now he's like a different man.
Yeah, he's my poster boy. And that was 14 years ago. And he's still going strong. Let's talk about some wrestling first, and then we'll get into that at the end.
Awesome. So I suppose we get to the beginning, and one of the big things I noticed was you WrestleMania 6 in the pink Cadillac. So how did that come about?
I ran a nightclub in Southwest Florida in those days, and I was actually doing stuff with AWA at the time, American Wrestling Association in the Midwest of America. And I was already a character as a manager, and Luke from the Bushwhackers. Luke was a buddy of mine. All these guys came in my club. Like, here's one of my favorite pictures. I can't believe I still have it. This is me and Ted DiBiase, and I'm pouring tequila into his gullet. I want to say it was probably right around that time. I'm looking for the picture. Here it is. I want to say it might have even been that night, because WWE, when they would come from Tampa to Miami, that's almost 300 miles.
Yeah.
So Fort Myers is right in the middle of that. And here's a picture from that night as well, with me and Luke and Ted. And bottom line is, Luke was like, "Oh, mate, I love you. Pink Cadillac, it's sweet." He goes, honky tonk. Him and Jimmy Hall, they need someone to drive him to the ring. He goes, "I think I'll call Pat Patterson right now." I go, "You're gonna call Pat Patterson?" He goes, "Give me a phone, mate. Give me a phone." So he got on the phone and he called Pat up, and he there was no way I could send a picture of him, the Cadillac, yet, because there was no email, there was no phone, take a picture and send it. But so he literally took it on Luke's judgment, and Pat asked me what it would cost to rent it from me, and I said, if you drive it up there, if you ship it, because I don't want to take a chance if something happened on the way to Toronto. I said, if you ship it and you fly me up and put me up, you can have it for nothing. Just let me drive it. He goes, "Good, done." So that's how Diamond Dallas Page became Diamond Dallas Chauffeur. And the really crazy part, if you look at that was in, I want to say, I know it was WrestleMania 6. So what year was that? I want to say
90.
It was 80, was it 90? Yeah, it was 90.
90, yeah.
It was 90. And I hadn't started with Florida Championship Wrestling yet, but maybe I was with Florida Championship Wrestling at that time too, and was working for Dusty at the time. And what had happened was they get the gig for the car, and I drive the car to the ring. The main event is Warrior and Hogan, and that's the day everybody said he was going to pass the boots on to Warrior, and he did put him over. 8 years later, Warrior comes into WCW to work against Hulk again. me and Goldberg are sharing that main event spot.
That's right. That's right.
And when Warrior got there, he like I don't know what to say, he summoned for us, but he asked to speak to me and Goldberg, and we were in some big arena. I can't remember where it was. So we both hopped on the little golf cart and we drove to where Warrior's locker room was. And when he opened the door, I mean, he was the sweetest guy. He friggin' gave us both a big hug.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, I'm back because of you two. He said, you guys are having so much fun out there. He's like, I had to become a part of it. So that was a really cool thing to hear from him.
That's awesome to hear. Like, we've been obviously Warrior's been quite mentioned a lot recently with both the A&E documentary and also the Dark Side of the Ring documentary as well. So I mean, we hear the good side of Warrior, like from yourself, and like I recently interviewed Sean Mooney, heard some stories from him, but we also hear like some of the bad stories from him. But like from everyone I've personally interviewed, no one's got a bad word to say about him. They've all got along with him. It seems like yourself as well.
Yeah, well, again, I'm the chauffeur when he headlines with Hulk, and then I'm in the co-main event.
Yeah.
So he showed me monster respect, and yeah, it was super cool to get that from him. And when he went in the Hall of Fame, you know, so did Jake. So I was there for that too, to induct Jake. And Jake really there was bad blood between them both. And I just explained to Jake, I was like, you know, bro, it doesn't do you any good to hold that. And he had to do it himself, but he let it all go and he went up to Warrior and they had a great conversation, and Jake walked away feeling really good about it. And then Warrior died 2 days later, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad that Jake, because he carries, you know, especially you've seen the dark side of wrestling and you know, beyond the mat, you know that Jake carries a lot of burden of the horrifying childhood he had. And he carried a lot of that for a long time, and it affected him. And I'm just really happy that I could in some way help my mentor. I always say, without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. Without Jake Snake Roberts, there's no 3-time world champion. You know, there's no Hall of Famer without those guys, because they guided me. I had to figure it out, but they guided me as we went through the journey.
Awesome. And one of the stories I want to talk about, and I've heard Mick Foley's side and Steve Austin's side. I don't know if I've actually heard your side. You know what I'm going to talk about, the infamous cookies. Walk us through it. What happened?
It's pretty much what Mick said to a certain degree. But it's funny. Of course, he's going to add his color to it. And I'll tell you a story. I was in Chicago doing a DDP yoga workshop, one of the first ones I'd done. And Mick heard I was in town, and he was at a convention. And he was doing his stand-up. And it was very early on for him when he was doing his stand-up. And Roddy Piper was going to do it with him too. So he was going to tell a story, then Roddy was going to tell a story, then Mick was going to tell a story, Roddy was going to tell a story. And at some point they end with the cookie story.
Yeah.
And Piper is playing me. And right when, you know, the point where I realized the cookies are in the bed, and like Austin's like, he's trying not to fucking say, you know, he's trying not to react, but he's laughing so hard, you know, quiet, trying not to laugh. Yeah. And so is Foley, that I got up and I took the sheets and the cookies and I stuck them in his face, and I was bouncing, my naked ass was bouncing up and down on his head. And right when that was happening, they cut the lights. Right. Completely blacked out the room. And when they opened, I was standing there, and the place went batshit crazy. Foley will tell you, it was one of the biggest, I guess like 300 or 400 people there. But it was one of the loudest pops because no one saw it coming. You know, a lot like the Diamond Cutter many times. No one saw it coming, and creates that amazing reaction. And, you know, Mick, when Mick got his first bestseller, the reason why he wrote that book was because we were interviewing him for my book.
Right.
And I used to tell Mick all the time, like, bro, stop taking those bumps on the cement. Yeah, but the fans, I go, there's 300 fucking fans. Nobody wants to see you do that, bro. You know, they know you're really hurting yourself. And I said, you're so much smarter than this, you know. And he later, when he came to my house, he was doing a book signing in Atlanta, and he thanked me for believing in him. You know, that it really, when I started the book, he thought, well, if he can do it, so can I. And he went on to write like 3 or 4 bestsellers, you know. So, you know, I always tell people, never underestimate the power someone gives you by believing in you. Like, it's super powerful. And you know, then eventually you have to get to where you believe in yourself, because there's nothing more powerful than that. Because once you actually see something, you write it down, just don't think it, ink it, and you really start putting the work in. And it's all about discipline. You know, more than anything, I'm going to give you a great quote. I don't know it off the top of my head, or I just say it, but little by little, I say it so much that I learn it and learn it and learn it. I saw this quote, actually, my girlfriend, Paige. My girlfriend's name is actually Paige, the woman I'm with, and her last name is McMahon.
Crazy.
No relation.
Wow.
So she sent me this because she knows how disciplined I can be. And she sent me this quote. She said, discipline is the strongest form of self-love. It's ignoring current pleasures for bigger rewards to come. It's loving yourself enough to give yourself everything you've ever wanted. And that right there sums up success in a nutshell, whether it's weight or business or relationships. When you ignore the current pleasure of, let's say, weight for the donut, which at that moment you wanted so bad, because sugar is the biggest addiction in the world. There was a study that Harvard did, and they took 44 white mice and they addicted them to crack cocaine.
Wow.
And then they put sugar water in there. 42 of them went to the sugar water.
Wow.
Right.
That's crazy.
So that's what's happening in your brain. So when you eat that glazed donut or piece of pie or cake or pizza or the whole pizza, you feel so good in the beginning. But as soon as you're finished, then comes in the shame and the guilt and the self-sabotage. Like, nothing is worth that. And when you can understand that, because no one can do more damage to you than you. I call it emotional gravity. No one can pull you down more than you. Now, the positive side is no one can pick you up more than you. No one can see your journey. No one can see the success. No one can see, like, it took, when I told everybody I was going to be a wrestler when I was 23, they all laughed at me. And I had 3 matches and I sucked. I hurt my knee, my right knee, the one I walked out in front of a car. The car hit my front right knee. My face bounced off the hood, and I flew 42 feet from impact.
Wow.
I hurt that knee again. And what ended up happening is I ended up been in the nightclub business since I was 17, and I got my first opportunity to run a little rock and roll bar. And it was so much fun. And the booze, the broads, and the party swept me away. Like my matches were in 1979. And the only way I know that, someone sent me this. This is crazy. Someone sent me, you know how they'll do whatever wrestling organization, they're taking, you know, they're typing, they're doing a graphic design. They didn't have graphic designs in 1979, but they had somewhat like that. This is the second match I ever had. If you look right here, you'll see Handsome Dallas Page.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see the date? December 7th.
That's right. 1979. Wow.
79. They sent it to me. I was like, oh my God. The guy Tito Torres, who's in the top of the main event, he's the guy who trained me over those 3 months.
Wow.
So like, so crazy that they found that. And so I tried wrestling as a kid, but it didn't work out for me. And then I got sidetracked with the booze, the broads, and the party. And looking back, it probably wasn't my time, because if I would have met Jake, we're 11 months apart. If I would have met Jake at, say, 26, 27, the way he partied and the way I partied, we both probably would have killed ourselves trying to one up each other. And for me to be the one who actually got him off the booze, the pills, the coke, and the crack, you know, it's pretty fucking cool, you know.
Oh, it is, definitely. And another thing that was cool, so it changed the course of wrestling in the 90s, the nWo, so they brought Hogan in, and at Bash of the Beach 10, he'll join Hall and Nash, and they pretty much recruited everyone, but you was the one guy they could never do it. And when you hit that diamond cutter on Scott Hall, I mean, the pop, you was really getting over, and this cemented your face turn. So how did the talks go into it of you delivering this diamond cutter and you basically being this big brand new baby face for the company?
Well, every idea that I was ever involved in, pretty much I came up with, except for me and Savage, because I could never have called that. But I had a real relationship with Kevin and Scott. You know, a lot of people know that, you know, Scott couldn't get a job, you know, with WCW or WWF. They wouldn't take his call. And here's this 6'6", you know, at the time, 295-pound twisted steel and movie star, sex appeal. Like, Scott had everything. He couldn't be Scott Hall. He needed to be somebody else. Like, later, nWo is Scott Hall. But up till that point, he found Razor Ramon when he was the Diamond Stud, and I changed his hair, changed that walrus mustache, and put that ridiculous 5 o'clock shadow, which for him was like at 2 o'clock. I mean, Scott's got to go down as one of the most handsome guys to ever do what we do. And he was a movie star. And he started doing these bits about Scarface in my 62 pink Cadillac smoking pot. Scott Hall did not drink booze before his 30s. When he was with me, he never drank. He smoked pot, but he never drank. But that's where Razor Ramon was created. And then when me and Kevin Nash, when we were tagging as the Vegas Connection, I mean, today, I'm still as tight as with Kevin as I was back then in 1991. And we, you know, we were seen as the guys that were never going to make it because Kevin had all these gimmicks and they all sucked. None of them let him out. Kevin Nash is very secure in who the fuck he is. You know, he can play himself better than anything. And they used to be, they beat him down. They pulled down his money. It was costing him money to be a wrestler near the end. And he was ready to quit like a couple of times. And if you go look at Kevin Nash's his Hall of Fame speech. He says that he owes his beachfront home to Dally because there was a bunch of times that he wanted to quit. And I would say to him, big man, don't you let them beat you. Don't you let them beat you, man. You're going to be one of the biggest names ever. And he's a two-time Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And maybe the best big man ever. Maybe some people will scoff at that, but when you add in look, character, charisma, work ethic, if you don't think Nash is in the top 2, 3, or number 1, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because the guy had it all. So they were killing everyone. And I was still in the mid card, and nobody saw me as a top guy. Scott did. Scott saw it, him and Kev. They saw me getting over. There was one place, one Monday Nitro, and the people were getting behind me. I'm still a heel, and they were getting behind me. And Scott's like, "Look at him! Look, like they know me better than anybody, both those guys." And he's like, "He's not a fucking heel. He's a baby face. You need to turn him baby face." And they didn't do anything with it. And one night I was ready to ask for my release. And I went to see Kevin, and he was near a boiler room, I remember. And I said, dude, I've got this idea. You and Scott kill you recruit guys. And if they don't want to go with you, kill them. Or you act like you want them and then you kill them. I think I would love it if you guys would ask me. And I go, oh, like the Diamond Cutter was getting over at the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't over yet, but it was getting over. And if you go back and look at the people I hit the Diamond Cutter on out of nowhere, every one of them was nobody.
It's true.
So how do you get those reactions? I'm beating fucking enhancement people. How am I getting that reaction? Because I knew how to tell a fucking story and surprise them the way Jake would do with the DDT. And first time I ever did that, I showed that to Jake. He just started smiling, took a big drag out of his cigarette, and he looked at me and he went, now you're getting it. Like you got to surprise him. And so I told Kev the idea. He's like, I love it. Go tell Bischoff. I go, I ain't telling Bischoff. I got to go tell Scott first. And Kev said to me, like, Scott couldn't get a job. His wife was pregnant with Cody at the time, his son, Cody. And he said, you don't think he wants to repay you? Without you, none of this shit's happening. It's like, he wants to do it. I go, I got to go ask him. So I did, and he loved it. Because again, they're the big killers. They got nobody to work with. So you got to start making some baby faces. And he goes, go tell Bishop. I go, I ain't telling him shit. He's my buddy, so I want to drop the nWo. He'll laugh his ass off, I said, we're going to let Kev tell the story. So Kev told to Eric. And in the beginning, he was in control, but he was, he liked to let everybody have their little spot, in the booking committee and stuff. And he didn't say yes right away. He balked a little bit, and Scott was like, now wait a minute. Everybody know you guys are bros. Like, that's not a positive. Like, this fucker's getting over. Like, we need to fucking put a rocket on him. And he went, yeah, let's do it. And like both of those guys went to bat for me. Now, the crazy thing is, and most people don't know, it was on the TV sheet to start. And it got pulled off. Like, we'd already shot the angle. They came to me and I said no.
Yeah. And
then it was supposed to be one more time. And then I put the shirt on. It was only supposed to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks max.
Wow.
It took 10 because it kept getting pulled off the Monday Nitro TV sheet.
Wow.
Because the booking committee at the time didn't believe that I could handle that push. They didn't believe that I could carry it. So they didn't believe in me, you know? And on the ninth week, I was like, it wasn't even on TV that week. And on the next week, we were in New Orleans. And like, that's a big town for me. There's a bunch of towns that are really big for Diamond Dallas Page. New Orleans is one of them. And as it all turned out, you know, it all came down to that. And basically, we're supposed to have 12 minutes for my match and everything. And then it got cut to 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 6 minutes, 4 minutes.
Wow.
I was so fucking mad. Like, I couldn't even see. I was so mad. And I couldn't find Kev to fucking complain to, you know, to try to fix it. And out of nowhere, him and Scott, when Scott was ready to walk out, you couldn't talk to Scott because he was in friggin' he was in Scott Hall, AKA Razor mode. Like, he had the little Superman twirl, squirrel, you know, thing. He was twirling that. He wouldn't talk to anybody. He was in his theatrical zone. And Kev, I said, Kev, they cut the time, blah, 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 4 fucking minutes. And he's like, Dally, what do you always tell me? I go, I don't know. What the fuck do I always tell you? He's like, breathe. Like, breathe. He goes, what are they going to do? Go to commercial? It's fucking live.
Yeah.
Go out. He said, go out and beat that, Jay Brown. He goes, this is your night, bro. I go out there. Mark Starr was a hell of a worker. That's who I wrestled. And the finish was, I shoot you into the turnbuckle, you hit, and you bounce out like a Ric Flair type spot, right? Where Rick would hit it and bounce out. I'm going to hit the ropes, what I call the bank shot diamond cutter. I hit the ropes, and then I come through, and I'll grab you.
That's right.
And take you down. Watch that again. He takes a couple of steps and pulls a Ric Flair and like dives.
Yeah.
As he's diving, I'm literally thinking, what the fuck are you doing? And I dove at him, like literally dove at him and caught him like this far from the mat. It got a huge pop because I still got him, but I was pissed because I didn't know how it looked. But I was listening to people, but it was something. When we did the very best of Nitro, I almost didn't put it in there because I kind of controlled. They gave me a lot of control in the very best of Nitro stuff. I almost didn't put it in. And I asked Austin, who me and Austin have been tight as fuck since 1989 and 1990. And he said, kid, a win's a win. Yeah, I guess you're right. But that's the perfectionist in me. But I was so mad by that. We do the shit. It went unbelievable. We got this monster pop. Now, this is my moment. This is about to really change my life, like on a grand scale. And I knew it. So I went to I left the building. I didn't thank anybody because I was so mad about the cutter. I had to see it first, you know, because again, I was a perfectionist, man. If you go back and look at my matches, man, how much they improved match after match after match after match. Nobody studied, like no one worked harder than me. No one. Guys who might have worked as hard, Hunter, The Rock, guys like that, because they got crazy work ethic, maybe as hard, but they didn't work any harder than me. And they weren't friggin' in their 40s doing it, you know, in the beginning. Like my career in 96, I was 40. When I beat Randy Savage the day before, I turned 41. Wow. The day before. And so when it came to, you know, me getting away and I just want to watch. So I get to the bar, I line up a couple of tequilas and I'm drinking Coors Light. And I watched it, Diamond Cutter in the spot, and I can live with it. It looked good. It got a great pop. So let me ask you, if Steve Austin did something as dramatic as dropping the nWo, as dramatic, all right, how many times would WWE replayed that fucking moment between 9 and 11? How many times?
Probably every 5 minutes.
So how many times do you think they replayed it for me?
I actually watched the episode recently, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they replayed it, or if they did, it was once or twice at the Feuding minimum.
They never replayed it.
I didn't think they did. It's crazy.
They never replayed it.
That's crazy.
I'm a super disciplined when it comes to drinking, and I especially was from like 40, really like 38 on. I got really disciplined. Like if I'm drinking, I'm going to drink, but I'm not going past this limit. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be fully. If something happens, it's on me. You know, I'm not going to black myself out or drink too much. But that night, I got fucked up because I just couldn't believe. Like, can you really blatantly slap me in the face like that? Like the biggest moment that if you take everything that happened on Nitro, tell me a bigger moment than that.
That's if it's not at the top, it's there. I mean, such a big moment.
Goldberg beating Hulk, okay, but that's a match. Tell me a bigger moment.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you know, as for an actual moment,
there's not a bigger, because they were fucking the giant. They were the grand killers. Nobody dropped them in over a year and a half. Nobody. All of a sudden they're laying out, and we don't replay that. So I got booked up, and I met everybody at at some, I think it was a Gold Club strip joint in New Orleans, and everybody was so excited for me, and I was so mad and fucked up. Scott Hall, who I've helped home many a time, saw me in that position. He tells a great story. He stopped drinking.
Well,
he stopped drinking because he knew he had to take care of me. we ran into, here's Scott tell the story, it's really funny, but we ran into Dan Aykroyd, the Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
He was outside of Chicago's Blues Bar, the Blues Bar, whatever that thing that Chicago, they have one in Chicago, they have one in New Orleans, they had a couple different places. And he walked out with his bodyguard as we were walking by. Oh God. Hey, Ghostbuster, what you gonna do? Oh my God. If there would have been films of that shit. Oh my God. Thank God Scott kept me from going to jail that night. But you know, in retrospect, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it took so long to happen that the angle was ingrained in everyone's mind. Normally they hotshot shit. Now, it wasn't done like that on purpose, but that's how it worked out. It turned out to be the best thing to ever happen to me. Like everything that's ever been negative, if I can just get through it so many times, like when I blew my back out, I had 3 different spine specialists tell me my career was over. Wow. That's where DDP yoga comes from. in less than 3 months, nobody will sign for me to go back. They're like, you're done. And my one doctor, when I went back and saw him in 2.5 months, he was in shock. He couldn't believe. I pulled my foot over my head by then. I could put my forehead on my shins. I could do all this shit that I couldn't do before because I ruptured my L4 and L5. And he was like, I've never seen a comeback like this ever. And he signed for me to go back. And I always say, and at 42, they said my career's over. 3 months later, I'm back in the ring. At 43, I'm the world champ. And that was, everything that got set up. The nWo was the thing that put me on the rocket. But when Randy put me over at Spring Stampede, that changed my life. Like, I got a big fucking trophy over there that says WCW's Wrestler of the Year in 1997. Okay. And I was, from nowhere. But it was all of those things that happened that allowed me to get that spot. And, people talk on the internet and the negative people, which there's a bunch of those people. Somebody's saying something about how, the death of my push was the death of WCW. Wow. They were one of those people like, dude, my whole fucking push was when we were kicking the WWE's ass.
That's right.
So I don't know what the fuck he was watching, but I was there. It was crazy, man. That was like the most to be a part of the Monday Night Wars was crazy special. This is an amazing time.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the most mainstream wrestling's ever been. And I mean, you mentioned how much of a perfectionist you was wrestling, and they trusted you because they gave you Karl Malone and Jay Leno, and Jay Leno, he's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, like chat show host in America. So how was it working this match with Hogan and Bischoff along with Jay Leno? Just such a mainstream match.
Well, again, I'm the one who came up with the Karl Malone thing's the real thing that put us on the map.
Yeah.
Karl Malone and Malone and I were buddies. And again, guys who really were big fans of mine were guys who had ridiculous work ethics. And Karl Malone is the #2 scorer of all time. Not Jordan, not Kobe, not Allen Iverson, fucking Malone.
Wow.
And LeBron should catch him, but LeBron started right out of high school.
That's right.
Like, he didn't go to college. So he, freaking Malone went to college. He graduated from college.
Yeah. So,
Malone per average got to be, and they got more games today than they had back then.
That's right.
So when me and Malone hooked up against Robin and Hogan, that was my idea.
Yeah.
And then I told Eric, I said, Malone's going to be on the Tonight Show, whether they win or lose. And we could set something up like that. So Eric's idea, he's the one who made it happen, but me being in his ear about it, we both helped each other a lot financially. And if you listen to Eric Bischoff at my Hall of Fame speech, when he inducted me, he said, being his buddy made it 2 times harder. Try 5 times harder, and I had to work 5 times harder than anybody to get that spot because he wasn't just going to give it to me. And it was guys like Nash and Hall and Hulk and Randy. I mean, those are the guys who stood up for me and were like, no, this guy's money now. Hulk said it to me 4 years before the Malone and Hogan thing. He came up to me in the UK, and we were doing a tour there. He had just come in. And he asked me how I was getting. I got out of the ring. I'm the first match. I'm the curtain jerker. And he's like, how are you doing it? I'm like, doing what? He goes, getting so much better. I never see you on TV, except for once in a while. When I do, you come up with this new move I haven't seen you do. And and you get the people involved. He goes, this is how they're doing it. So learn your craft, right? I'm like, Hulk, I ain't been on the road 4 months. I said, the only reason I'm here, because before I changed my name was Paige Joseph Falkenberg. And the Krauts love their Germans. So we're doing the UK, and then we're going right into Germany.
Yeah.
And I said, they wanted me on the card. Plus, I got a smoking hot wife that walks me to the ring. He goes, well, how are you doing it then? I said, I went back down the power plant and started training the young guys. And this pertains to everything. The more reps you get, the more you do something. Repetition is the mother of learning. The more you train someone, the more you learn. The more you learn, the better you get. And Hulk said, whatever you're doing, you need to keep doing it. Because it's not this year or next year or the year after, but somewhere down the line. I believe you have the ability to draw huge money with me. Me walking on the stage of the Tonight Show with Karl Malone and Rodman and Hogan sitting in those chairs, that was the biggest thing to ever happen to WCW.
Yep.
It was mainstream personified. It was the second biggest drawing pay-per-view in the history of WCW. The only thing that beat it was Hulk and Sting. Yes. And they promoted that for a fucking year.
That's right, yeah.
We had like 6 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever the fuck it was. Wow. And you know, it put me on the map on a different level. And it's what really created the base. And we're going to slide in this now. Like where DDP yoga comes from is me blowing my back out, being told you could never wrestle again. It's not something that came together because I needed to make money. I put all my money in it. I had $548,000 actually in the program, invested before I made a dime.
Wow.
And today, we're becoming a mainstream name in America. And I'm branding it DDP. Why? Why? Because I want people to stop calling it just fucking yoga, because it's not. Yogis are over there. DDPY is over here. And you're going to start doing it. And here's what we're going to do. You say you're ready to really put the work in. Are you?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to give you my app. And once a month, you're going to tell your people. And 3 months from now, Marlon's going to have me and you come back on and talk about what you did. Now, here's what you got to do. When you go on the app, you watch the first video. It shows you what to do, where to go. Then you go to the list. It's right on the front. We call it the dashboard, the list. You have to promise me right now, you're going to do everything on the list. Now, you may not stick with it, but I know if you do it, if you do everything on the fucking list, you'll stick to it. And you'll stick to it because every big crazy transformation you've seen from people from my company, and there are friggin' literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of crazy transformations that we've videoed, all of their shit. Everybody who's had the ridiculous results did the list. And what I'm going to do is ask you things like, what's your why? Like, why are you doing this? Why do you want this? Setting your goals, watching my lecture, Living Life at 90%. It's right there on the app. Watch Resurrection. I'm sure you've seen it. Watch it again. Watch our new documentary, Relentless. Watch Feuding, Genetic Roulette. These are things that you're going to watch to educate yourself. There's a reason why people are ridiculously obese in my country is because the food is completely fucked.
Yeah.
In your country, it's becoming fucked.
That's true.
And so you need to know what real food is. And that's how your body will heal itself with real food. It'll also slowly kill yourself.
Hmm.
So you're going to go on the app. You're going to watch that first video where I tell you where to go, what to do. You're going to go to the list. You're going to watch that. It's going to tell you exactly where to go, what to do. And then you just start, you know, and I lead you. If you do the beginner thing, which I would suggest, and for people who can't do beginner, oh, well, I've got rebuild, where you start in bed. You can't get out of bed. Or you work out in a chair, or chair force workouts, or you grab a chair and you use it for balance to get up and get down. That's how Jake did it. That's how Arthur did it. That's how Scott did it. That's how, you know, Bobby Fish from NXT.
Yes.
Bobby tore his ACL. I would never have thought an athlete at the caliber, you know, the highest caliber, anybody at NXT or AEW or any, you know, NFL, NBA, they're all incredibly tuned athletes. Even the guys that don't look like it are. I would never have thought he would have started with the bed workouts because that's all he could do because he had a torn ACL. Then he went to the chair. And then he went to stand strong using the chair. Then he got to beginner, and now he's, you know, now his body's so strong. He's in his mid 40s right now, still going at it like he's in his 20s. AJ Styles, same thing. You know, Chris Jericho, same thing.
Yeah.
The fucker's going to be 51. He's still going out there and rolling with guys like Kenny Omega, who's in his late 30s. You know, so you do it. You put the work in. You do it right, and Marlon will set you up with it. And then I'll come back 3 months from now, 90 days later, when you started, and then we'll talk about where you are, what you're doing. If you watch all those videos, I don't even have to fucking tell you anything. It's all there. It's all there.
Awesome. Well, absolute pleasure having you on the show, DDP. Big fan of yours for a long time, and yeah, I'm up for that challenge, and we'll definitely see some results. And yeah, I'll definitely be seeing you in 3 months' time. But before we do sign off, tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
If you're a Twitter person, at Real DDP, at DDP Yoga. If you're Instagram, at Diamond Dallas Page, at DDP Yoga. On my Facebook, Diamond Dallas Page, the athlete. I'm always posting up there. Of course, DDP Yoga on Facebook is our other company, you know, as far as our Facebook there. And if you want to get the program and try it for 7 days, it costs you nothing. Go to ddpyoga.com or ddpy.com, and you can get the program and try it for 7 days for nothing. Do what I just told my man here. Go watch that video on the dashboard, then watch the list. If you do the list, I guarantee you, you may not just change your life, you may be able to actually own your life. And one of the things that's on the list, I always tell people, I'll close with this. I said, don't listen to a fucking word I have to say about my own shit. Go to Facebook, DDP Yoga, one word. It's not my site. 2 words is my site. 1 word is the people who do the program. It started with a buddy of mine named Chris Gabriano, and then it was 2 or 3 people, 4 or 5 people. Now there's over 62,000 people on that page. There, and that's one of the places you're going to go, because I have you join that, because you will not believe the unity and people helping each other. It's a no judgment zone. You won't believe the pictures that people put up of themselves. Like, you won't believe it. And you won't believe the befores and afters, or befores and durings, and people telling their story. Like on the app, every Monday's Motivational Monday. Every Tuesday's a new workout. Every Wednesday, a new cooking show. Every Thursday is a new tip of the week. Every Friday is Fabulous Fridays. I go on that Facebook site and I read what people are saying. I show what's on that site. So I drive people to that site so people can, so many people come there looking for hope. For my 4 finalists last year, it's only supposed to be 3, but I couldn't cut it down to 3 for my $1 million contest. Every single one of them, every ridiculous transformations. Every single one of them came there, not to join $1 million contest. They came to that page right there looking for hope. All 4 of them are 4 of the most inspiring people to ever do my program. That's just an example. So, bro, I will talk to you in 90 days. Great talking to you. Got every time I do any kind of interview, some of it's similar, but most of it's different. And you got a lot of different shit today.
So, thank you so much. And yeah, can't wait to speak to you again in 90 days.
And eventually I'm going to be in the UK. So stay tuned, baby. As soon as they break it down, I'm doing a tour. See ya. Bang. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hey, James here. Thanks for checking out this interview. I had a great time talking to DDP. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to it. And that's for announcement for next week's interview. Recently had the chance to speak to recently released WWE superstar Wesley Blake from the Forgotten Sons. Had a great time talking to Weston. Talked about him joining WWE, tag teaming up with Buddy Murphy, moving on from there to teaming up in the Forgotten Sons, getting punished over the Jackson Riker traits. Unfortunately, him and Cutler got cut loose because of it, and yeah, spoke about his future goals in wrestling, where he wants to go next. So yeah, please come back and check it out. And if you want to, please hit that like and hit that subscribe button. It really does help us out. Same if you listen on podcast form. Subscribe really does help us out. And this channel's grown so much the past 50 interviews. Hopefully the next 50 interviews we can grow more and more. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can follow me on Twitter at 90s Wrestling Pod, on Instagram that 90s Wrestling Pod. And we've also got the Facebook group, that 90s Wrestling Podcast. So everyone, until then, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.